Hey, good morning. Thank you for being here. If you've ever joined the Thursday meditation practice class, I walk us into the 10 minutes of sitting silence with 5 steps each time. The first is just to cast your eyes down and turn your attention inward and just begin to notice your breath, right? Essentially, look inside and breathe. The second is to become physically still. The third is to slow down, specifically slow down your breathing. The fourth is relax. And the fifth is remind yourself it's never what you think. It's never what you think it is. And there's a rationale. There's actual practical reasons for each of those steps. Turn your attention inward towards the breath, become still, slow, relax. It's never what you think. Each of these things, your attention being focused outwards, moving around, breathing fast or just moving fast internally, being tense, knowing. These 5 things are each a block to presence. So we counter them to become more present in the now. And the last thing I say always to everyone is it's never what you think. Remind your mind it's never what you think, and just return and practice returning to silent observation of your belly breath, right? And a few weeks ago, and so that's what we're talking about. It's never what you think. It's never what I think. It's never what you think. It's never what anyone thinks. And this has vast importance for your own peace and freedom and suffering, to our communication, our relationships, to politics, to leadership, to business. When you don't know, when you know in your bones that you don't know, you open up into the more, right? And so a few weeks ago, maybe more, maybe a couple of months ago now, one of my clients, I was walking him in, or maybe it was right after, no, we had just finished the sitting. So I had walked him in, I had said it's never what we think. And then we sat for about 20 minutes, maybe 25. And at the end, he smiled and he's like, I had a revelation. I was like, oh yeah, what's that? He goes, I always think, just looking at the math, at the numbers, statistically, given probabilities, every once in a while, our thought has to be it, right? Our thought has to be the thing. He's like, and then I realized that's not what you're talking about. But I totally missed the point here. It's not that what I think is wrong or not it. It's that the thought itself is impossible to meet reality. I was like, right? And he's been working with me for a while now, right? And so I love how when we practice something for a while, even though we hear it week after week or day after day or month after month, at some point, all of a sudden it hits us. Right? That's why repetition is so powerful, and why ultimately, if you look back and watch all these videos, you'll hear me saying essentially the same things in different ways. I mean, all these texts do that, right? They're saying the same thing in different ways until at one point you finally hear it in a new way and it reveals itself. So what he heard and what we had been talking about, which is something I know I've mentioned a few times on this channel, is words are not reality. And the way that I remember this first hitting me in the face, God, this must have been a good 10 years ago now, when I was working on the first book of koans as a very novice lay Zen monk. I was studying, I forget which koan it was, but in the description of the teaching in these koan books, there was a line where the master said to the monk, you say the word fire, yet your mouth doesn't burn. You say the word water, yet your thirst is not quenched. And I sat with that line for a while. I must have journaled on that line for, I don't know, a week or two, right? Before it finally really began to sink into my bones. I say the word water, but my thirst isn't quenched. I say the word fire, my mouth doesn't burn. The word that I say is not the thing. You know, if you're in the desert, or if I had forgotten to bring a cup of water to today's class, no matter how much I say the word water, it's not actually quenching my thirst. I say the word fire, fire doesn't come out of my mouth like a dragon, because the word is not the thing. 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 Words are language-based descriptors. And if you speak multiple languages, even if one of them is quite poorly because you learned in high school and couldn't care, if you have any exposure to multiple languages, which we all do, we have various words for similar things that have very subtly different meanings. Right? And I know I've mentioned this as well before, like there's now research that shows we perceive colors differently in different languages. We feel emotions differently in different languages. There are emotions that are not felt in some cultures because they don't have a word for it. Think about that. Emotions that are not experienced in different cultures because they simply don't have a word for something that I normally feel. I experienced this personally when I lived in Japan, and one of the most common words and emotions that they have is this word genki. To this day, I cannot fully understand what genki means. It's somewhere between healthy and happy and energetic, but also strong and like powerful, and there's so many words to describe it, but it's none of those words. It's something a little different. And so I can never fully experience genki because I wasn't raised in a culture that had the emotion of genki, right? So do words create reality, or does reality create words? Our perception, our current perception of reality, is very much colored by our language, by our thoughts. But the words are not the thing. They're never the thing. Look around wherever you're sitting now. And notice that if you just get quiet, you can observe everything in the room without needing or using a word for it. Chair, plant, picture, couch, blanket, window, curtain. Now observe them without the word. You don't need the words. Now, if words are a weak proxy for reality, and put in the comments or in the questions now if you're a subscriber. You do have to be a subscriber to do a question while I'm live, but anyone can comment. I forgot what I was going to say. Totally just forgot. Just went out my brain. You know why? I forgot. I looked at the like button, and I was told by somebody that if you guys are watching, to please ask you if you like it. Actually, I hate doing this. I hate asking people to subscribe or like or whatever. If you know what to do. You know what to do. I don't even want to ask. But I looked at the like button. I remember somebody had said, "Are you asking people to like your videos when you're out there?" And I'm like, "No, why would I do that?" And then I saw the like button, and oh my God, one of you guys just liked it. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. This is how much we can easily become distracted. I've been training in Zen meditation. Next week, there's no class because I will be sitting in a barn in upstate New York for 7 days, sitting in still silence to train my mind to focus. And my mind gets distracted, which I think should be good news that you don't get this right. And you can't get it wrong, right? But we come back to this, words are not reality. Because what are your thoughts made of? Every single thought you think is just a bunch of weak proxy words strung together. So if one word is a weak proxy, string them together, it's an even weaker proxy. It's never what you think it is. It's beyond the limits of thoughts. Now, let's go more into how thoughts aren't things. Every thought you think is a past observation. It's never now. Every thought you think is an observation from your past. If you learn a new thing, see a new product, learn a new word, all of a sudden that is now in your vocabulary, your wheelhouse, right? But until you learn it, it's brand new, it's unknown. Once you name it, you put it in a box. And we've talked about this. Boxes are nice because they help keep things organized. Boxes are also the thing that limit and contain. Now, you need a container sometimes, and containers are great tools. But we need to know where their utility ends so that we don't get boxed in. Our minds, our hearts, our lives, our relationships don't get boxed in by the weak proxy ideas that we have about a thing, a person, a situation. Your thoughts are not it. It's never what you think it is. So to further explore this, we're going to look at chapter 16 of the Tao. It's in the description below if you want to read along. Empty your mind of all thoughts, right? It's never what you think it is. Remind yourself it's never what you think it is. Return to quiet observation of your breath. That's how you empty your mind of all thoughts. Anyone can do it. It might take practice, but if you stop right now and just listen, don't think, just listen. I don't know if you guys can hear the kids screaming outside, right? In a few weeks, they won't be here. You're not thinking. It's that easy. When you're listening, you're not thinking. It's that simple. It's that simple. Just listen, just observe. The best thing to listen to, because ultimately you want to pay attention to yourself, is your belly. Listen to your lower belly. This is where you turn your attention, your breath, your belly brace breath, right? That's it. That's your gravitas. That's your integrity. That's the now. So, empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. When you're listening, when you're not thinking, without effort, your heart is at peace. Because here's the thing, when you're listening, you're in the now. If you're listening, if you're observing, you're naturally in the present moment. It's that simple. You feel like you're always scattered in the past, in the future, in an old story, in a future argument, and you're never actually grounded in your life here and now. You don't actually feel fully alive. Stop and listen. And if you can listen to your belly breath, you're going to become more in touch with yourself. And when you're more in touch with yourself, your body, when you can scan your body, scan your heart, scan your mind, observe them. Because you're not your body. You're not your emotions. You're not your mind. You're not any of these things. Ultimately, you're not. You are a construct as much as water and fire. This is where we get into the deeper stuff. But that's maybe for a private class or something to go deeper into the notness of our wonderful existence. That's also a non-existence. But empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. And contemplation is also a form of observation, of witnessing, right? They're here now. I see someone suffering. I see myself suffering. Return to the now. Whenever you hear the word return in any of these wisdom texts, the way I read it is it's returning to now. Now. Because now is everything. All time is now. We are time. We don't have time. We don't lose time. We don't get time. We are time. You are time. You are time living, manifesting, moving, changing. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. Returning to the source is serenity. I was actually just working on this chapter a couple of hours ago with my first client today. Hold on. Taking a sip of the water that's not water. And we were debating this chapter, this stanza, because this is one of my favorite stanzas in the book. Returning to the source is serenity. And so my question that I ask every client, and I'll ask you now, you can hear that, it's pretty loud. What is the source? What is the source? Returning to the source is serenity. And her first answers, which weren't wrong, they were right. They were very right, actually. They just missed the mark a little bit. Her first answer was the Tao. Return to the source, the Tao. I said, okay, that's nice, right? Because, the Tao is a great word because at least in Western society, we have no real connotations about it. We have no ideas, no fixed concepts or feelings or beliefs about what this Tao is, right? The Tao is the whole, the universe, God, the flying spaghetti monster. The Tao is you. You are the Tao. You're not a part of the Tao, you're the whole thing. Think about infinity or the universe or the earth. Right? If you look at the earth from the International Space Station, it's one thing. It's not separate. And I do this every week now, right? It's boring, but just like anything else, you repeat it long enough, all of a sudden you do hear it, right? This water, it looks like one glass of water. How many separate molecules are in here? Where is the separation? Where is it? How do you divide? If you look from a math perspective, can you divide infinity? No, there's not multiple infinities. You can't divide. It's indivisible. Right? So this source, the Tao, the indivisible one, which is essentially you. You are it. You are the master. You are the whole. Whatever poor name you try to give this, it's you. So the source is the Tao. Yes. I said, okay. She's like, it's me. Yes. And I'm everything. Okay. Yes, you are. And that includes your favorite politician, the politician you hate, whichever side of the war you are or aren't on. It's all included. Everything's included. Your kindness, your malice. You are the whole. You do include everything. It's coming to observation and peace with this everything that you are. That's the real work. But I was like, yeah, you're right. They're like words, they're concepts, the way it's going out that word. How do you find the Tao, the everything, the you? What is the source that you're returning to? That's serenity. It's now. It all comes back to now. Returning to the source is serenity. Returning to now is serenity. And what is now? What is this Tao? What am I? What is everything? What's the universe? I don't know what it is. It's beyond the limits of my language-based mind. I don't know. It's never this Tao, this whole, this source, this now is never what I think it is. And it's never what you think it is. Because whatever we think is a language-based conglomeration of weak proxy words. It's never what you think it is. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. Now this kind of reverts to that bigger, it's all. If you don't realize the whole, the one that you are, that includes the politician you hate and the politician you love. And most of us don't. I imagine right now, very few of us have a politician we love, but whatever. The politician that's the worser choice and the politician that's the not worser choice. However you see that, right? If you don't realize the source that includes both of these and you, that's the whole, the one, the universe, the earth, the Tao, the inseparable whole thing that we cannot understand with our minds. If you don't realize the source, that unknowable one, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. It's staying in the present unknown now that is the source of all peace and freedom. It's also the source of great leadership, of great families, of great relationships. I've talked about this before. One of my favorite teachings is not knowing is most intimate. I'm pretty sure that there's a class at some point that I taught with that title even. And I know that there's a blog post I wrote, and I've written like 2 or 3 emails on not knowing is most intimate. It's one of my favorite koans, right? Where the monk is going on pilgrimage, which was something that, young men did in the, 800s in China, the way that young people today go to college. Like, you just do it, right? And to one very astute monk, a master asked, "Oh, a big bug just flew in here. Why is it that you go on pilgrimage?" And the monk paused. And this pause is very important because it wasn't a few moments or hours. It was a few months, possibly a few years. He really paused and deeply questioned this within himself. Right? Why do I go on pilgrimage? Why do I do what I do? Why do I drink the water? Why do I meditate? Why does somebody else play violin? Why do we do what we do? And after a long pause, the monk returned to the master and he said, "I don't know. I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I'm driven to do this." And the master smiles, like, puts his hand out and goes, not knowing is most intimate. Not knowing is the key to intimacy with your parent, your child, your partner, your colleague, your boss, your cat, who's right over there. You can't see him. He's being very cute. Not knowing is intimacy. You want to be intimate with a person. You want to be intimate with yourself. You don't know it. Not knowing is necessary for intimacy. You want to be intimate with a person? Remind yourself they're never who you think they are. You want to be intimate with a moment in life? Remind yourself it's never what you think it is. You want to be intimate with yourself? Remind yourself you're never who you think you are. It's never what you think it is. It's never. Because think about it, touche. It's when we try to know something that it becomes confusing. Because I swear to God that this was water, but then it got really hot out and it evaporated and now it's gone. Right? Now it's steam, now it's atmosphere, now it's ether. Right? Everything is in a constant state of change and everything is unknowable. It's not that I don't know who I am. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. And if you sit in silence for long enough, it does take a minute, this will become very clear that you don't know. It's not what you think it is. It's never what you think it is. So if you don't realize the source, the unknown now, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. You stumble. I'm thinking about the past. I'm thinking about the future. Come back to now. Come back to the source. I don't know what the source is, but come back to it. Observe it. Remember, stop, observe, listen. Be present. There's peace. There's serenity. I get into the mind. There's confusion. There's sorrow. I get into the past or the future. There's confusion. There's sorrow. It's now. It's now. It's now. When you realize where you come from, and you realize that you're this whole unknown thing, And I don't mean this mentally. You get to, if you think about driving, you're first doing it very mentally. You're thinking about it a lot. But you're not relaxed. You're not comfortable. It's not automatic. You have to really be like tight, white knuckling on the steering wheel. But after you've been driving for a long time, you actually become a passenger to your body. You could drive 4 hours and not even realize half your trip, because you could be in your mind, you could be elsewhere. Your body has taken over, right? So your body knows it better than your mind now. You don't have to think at all. So the knowing that I'm speaking of, the knowing, the not knowing, the knowing that you're the whole is not intellectual. It's in the body. It's feeling it the way that you just automatically know how to drive, or if you're a dancer, or I don't know, a baseball player, how you just know how to hit the ball, or you just know how to throw the pitch. I don't play baseball. But your body becomes the knower. As you sit in silence, you can't help but feel in your body that you are the whole. It's not an intellectual knowing, because at the same time, you know that you don't know what this thing is that you are. You're very clear, I have no idea. But that not knowing is the opposite of confusion. It's not confusing because you're not in your mind. Confusion is a product of thinking. This is body-based presence, gravitas, integrity, right? When you realize where you come from, now, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested. Oh, you want to lie to me? Okay, that's great. Go do that. Amused. Oh, they're fighting again. Or oh, cat's being cute again. Okay. Kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. I love that juxtaposition. Don't we all want to be that? And if you're, you could reverse it for a man. You could be kind-hearted as a grandfather and dignified as a queen. And I love that the opposite of the gender is there, right? Like you really are like grandmother and king, or grandfather and queen. You really are the whole. You're the one. You embody it all. And you can be both kind-hearted and dignified. Do you imagine? That's who we all naturally are. Kind yet dignified. It's the difference from the false nicety of a nice person who's doing something either to get admiration or safety, or a sense of connection to others because they don't have it to themselves. No, this is truly kindness. And then you're dignified. You're so grounded in yourself. That's that integrity, that gravitas. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao. Immersed in the now. Immersed in the wonder of now. Immersed in now. Wondrous because you don't know what it is. You can deal with whatever life brings you because you're in the now. And when you're in the now, you always know what to do now. It's natural. It's clear. There's no confusion. Most of us are so stuck in the past and the future that we can't trust the now. But here's the cool thing. Just like driving, you practice, it becomes second nature. You can welcome everything. And when death comes, you are ready. Why are you ready for death? Because by that point, you realize that there is no death. And now we get to the full circle. Now we bring this all together again. Because when you're that connected to the now and feeling, yes, I am this whole, you realize there's no death. There's no birth. There can't be. It's just constant change. And if you want more on this, go back, watch if you want, if you find me useful to you. Like, if not, don't watch. Only do what's right for you and what's useful for you, right? But and I'm getting used to being on YouTube, so a lot of my videos are very awkward. Very awkward. But that's okay. That's part of me learning how to drive the YouTube, right? Like I'm still in that getting comfortable phase, and that's totally perfect. It's totally perfect. But if you wanted to, you can go back to my content, and I talk about life and death a lot because that's that intimacy with the idea of death and with life is the gateway to the deepest connection to self, to life, to the whole that you are. And as you practice that, it just becomes so inherent. And then you really can, as this says, deal with whatever life brings you. And that's my goal for everyone. That's what I want for people. That's what I want for myself. I mean, I'm still learning and a work in progress. What if there's a situation that is disappointment, that it's hard to remember to stay present? Any tips? Yes, those are the most important times. To be present to the fact that I'm so upset. This is so disorientated. I am disorientated. If in that moment you're disorientated, be disorientated. Be it. I use the Rumi poem so much, right? The guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, right? You are a guest house, right? If you're a good innkeeper, you welcome in everything. It even says, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Meet them at the door laughing, right? I don't think that means, the way I interpret it, not meet the door like, ha, 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 you're here. Like, oh, I'm so happy you're here. Oh, come on in. Oh, joy. Oh, malice. Oh, shame. Oh, depression. Oh, upset. Oh, deep upset. Come on in. I've got you. Come on in. I don't know what you are upset. I don't know what you are disorientated. This is where that curiosity, not knowing. Be the disorientation without the label disorientated. Right? I love this question. Guys, ask more questions. I love them so much. They really help. They help me actually know where you're at. And when you're upset, be upset fully. When you're disorientated, be it fully, because that's what's now. Yet, can you practice not knowing it? And this is that curiosity. My upset is never what I think it is. My disorientation is never what I think it is. Right? And then let me put it on my therapist hat, those things, those triggers in the present, 99.9% of the time go back to infancy, childhood, sometimes even pre-birth, of these, they could even be epigenetic, right? These old scripts that get revealed to us continually as we're older, until we can meet them at the door laughing, meet them at the door smiling and welcoming. Come on in. Become more upsetting. Disorientate me more. Sit with it. Be with it. Welcome it in, but with curiosity. Don't assume that you know what this is about. It's like me assuming I know who you are. It's rude. It's just rude. Remember, not knowing is most intimate. If I want to be intimate with a person, a moment, I have to know that I don't know who they are. If I want to be deeply intimate with upset, I have to know that I don't know what this upset is. And when you're with it and you breathe with it and welcome it in, find it in your body. Where is the upset in your body? It's from the neck up. The feeling is in the body, it's not in the head. And the feeling is not a story. The feeling, find it in your body. Oh, it's a cramping in my upper belly. It's a weight in my lower belly. It's a burning in my heart. It's a tightness in my throat. It's a welling in my eyes. Okay, name it, see it. Describe it to me. What is that like? What's it like? Oh, the upset is a tightness in my chest. What's that? Then ask yourself, what's that like? I feel suffocated. What's it like to be suffocated? These are techniques built over generations because they really work. When you can begin to meet and witness yourself exactly as you are fully, is the beginning of meeting the world. It's the beginning of real intimacy. Trusting you're upset. You're trusting your disorientation. Can you trust yourself? Can you love yourself that much to honor the disorientation, the upsetness? And then let it lead you. Let it lead you. Be present and curious. And then you're present. You're totally present. And if your mind goes off into a story about he did this or that, they did that, okay. It'll go until all of a sudden you'll have a moment of awareness. Now you're back in the now. Remind yourself, it's never about them. Put it back on you. It's never about the other person. It's always about you. It might just be that you don't have self-respect enough to kindly say to the other person. Because if you say it with anger, it's still about them. Trust me, I've been there. Totally been there. I'm often there still, right? Like, this is why this is a practice, right? We don't get it right. We can't get it wrong. It's a practice, right? You meet yourself at the door with a smile, with love, with generosity, with patience. And with time, at some point, you'll be able to actually say to someone, I totally respect that you think that, say that, need to do that. I mean, let's go the full hog, right? Like, someone just cheated on you, lied to your face about it, and then got mad when you called them out on it, and so they slapped you in the face, or worse, right? Yikes, right? Right. So they cheat on you. You found evidence, say, right? You have clear evidence, and you bring it up, and then they lie to you. They get mad at you. You bring up the evidence that proves that you're right. They get more mad at you and they slap you. I'm thinking of the was it Diddy? Right? I'm thinking about that girl, right? Like, right? Clear evidence. She said it. Oh, I never did that. I never did that. Oh, now the video comes out. Oh, video that he knowingly paid for. Okay, yeah, right? Like very, very abusive and disorientating and upsetting, right? And this, I mean, if you're in an abusive situation like this, there's a reason why there's resources out there, because it can be terrifying to leave because they can come after you, right? And that's that's why you trust your instincts sometimes. Like, yeah, maybe I can't just leave, right? Because she tried to leave, right? Like, whatever. But the ability to instead say, hey, listen, I found evidence that there's someone else in your life, and I actually totally respect that. You have every right to be with whoever you want to be with. And you have every right to be mad at me for finding the evidence and for bringing this up. I hear you. And it's deeply painful for me, because I want a monogamous relationship. And you don't have to want that, but this is what I want. And unless you truly want a monogamous, honest, candid relationship, I need to walk away unless you decide that you want to stop for yourself. Otherwise, I need out. So yeah, that kind of communication, not always, like in the extreme of like the Diddy case, not always possible with someone who's either drunk or irrational or non-communicative. There's other things, but a friend who lies to you, right? Hey, I totally respect that you told me that for whatever reason, and it just makes me feel deeply uncomfortable that someone that I trust isn't candid with me. And for me to be truly close with a friend, I need someone who I can trust and is candid and honest with me. And I respect that might not either be what you want or what you can do. So unless you either get help unless you decide that for yourself you want to get help on that and change that behavior, I just need to take some space from this relationship. Right? A lot of times you don't even need to say anything like that. But it's the way of communicating that you have every right, or I totally respect that you did XYZ. And that makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't like that. So unless you decide to change, I'm going to walk away and do my own thing. Right? There's never an ultimatum of until you change. No, we're never demanding change from another. That's disrespectful. If they decide when we walk away, hey, you know what, that person really meant something to me, or maybe they have a point. Maybe it's not even them, but I don't like this about myself. All right, so I'm going to work on this. Okay, great, then that's their choice. But it might be like, you know what, that's just not how I operate. They could say, that's not what I want. Okay, that's perfect, because you include all of that too, but you're just making choices for yourself. But in order to do what I just gave some tips on with communicating out of grace and respect for both yourself and the other, you have to be grounded in the now, in the present. And you have to be able to know what you're feeling and be very present to what you're feeling. to your upset, your disorientation, and sit with that for a while before you communicate to them. You have to be so confident in your upset. You have to be so confident in your. Yeah, it was long-winded, but that's kind of what I got there. Is that was that helpful? Is that you can either, and you can, I know who's chatting with me now, Nicole, if you wanted to send me something offline too, if there's any other questions there, if I didn't hit the mark. But yeah, that's what I got for that. I hope it was helpful. Super grateful for you guys being here. Oh, we're almost at 12:30. This was a long class. Super grateful. Oh, I hope so. Let me know if it's not. Okay, thanks. Okay, no classes at all next week. I will be on a silent retreat. I'll be sitting in the still silence from 5:30 in the morning till 9:30, sometimes 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So pretty much whenever you sit, I'll be sitting with you, but there'll be no classes. If I have the time and the wherewithal, I might try to pre-record something and post it on